What's up, everybody? You're back with YouTube's favorite couple here. Welcome back, Colliders. See y'all rocking with us here as always. To YouTube's favorite couple, like I just said. I'm the kid JW. That's Ms Diva Talks.
What's up, y'all?
And we got another breaking news story from TikTok News today. Scott, tell me a word you've mispronounced for a long time. I almost mispronounced that word right there. Woo! Everybody. Perfect segue. Let's start the show.
Exactly.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
So growing up, I read all the time. Like, we'd have reading competitions and I'd kick almost pretty much everyone's butt. But that's not the point. The point is I did read a lot. So my junior year, we're in U.S. history. We're talking about the room where it happens with Hamilton and Jefferson and Madison. And I just went, I think it's really amazing how they got the great compromise out of that. Compromise.
Yep.
Compromise.
Yeah. Although I heard a person in high school mispronounce island. They said Islam. Everyone laughed and I did. I can see how.
I can see how you can miss it.
Yeah, because you're saying how you.
They taught us to sound it out.
We look at Islam. All right, Islam.
Mm-hmm.
The Hawaiian Islands. Well, yeah.
The great compromise. The entire class stopped and looked at me, and one of my friends just went, "You mean compromise?" No, I argued with her because it looks like compromise. It's a compound word, compromise. And they still tell me it's compromise. Hooked on phonics did not work for me on that day.
Stitch this with a word.
I'm telling you, the English language.
It's hard as hell.
Because what? Because she's right. It's a compound word.
Yeah.
Word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
For all you Twilight fans, mine was Carl Lissel. 3 years I had talked about Twilight out loud before somebody corrected me.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
Okay, so I actually know how the word was pronounced. Have used the word for years and years and years. But I've never seen the word spelled. I've never spelled the word. I've never needed to spell the word or read the word, apparently. But I moved into a bar. Not into a bar, next to a bar. And that bar's name, to my knowledge, was Jim's Alibi. Jim's Alibi. And I called it that. And somebody said, "You mean Jim's alibi?" And I said, "Oh, that actually makes sense." I was calling it that for months.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it for...
Okay, so back before the Harry Potter movies came out, my teacher in primary school used to read us the Harry Potter books every day. So she pronounced Hermione's name wrong. She pronounced it Hermione. So we all thought it was Hermione. She thought it was Hermione.
Yeah,
and then when the movie came out, we all went on an excursion and we went to see the movie. And then I just remember watching it and I was like, what? Like, Hermione? Where's Hermione?
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud.
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Rebecca Simon, your pirate historian. Once upon a time in 2013, when I was a baby PhD student, aka my first year, I was presenting at my first major conference where I was going to be discussing basically the beginnings of my entire PhD in terms of public executions of pirates and crime. Very big deal for me. When I was talking about the goods that pirates needed to outfit their ships, I was using the word victuals, as I thought it was. These are goods. Victuals is how I kept pronouncing it. At the very end of my presentation, my good friend came up to me and said, "My dear, it's pronounced victuals."
Stitch this with...
And I believe she was saying that victuals with so much conviction.
Right, right.
That literally only one person was like,
Somebody was like,
that ain't how you say it.
"I need some victuals." And the whole time it was Vitos. Some Vitos. Well, the fuck.
Mm-hmm.
The word you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
Hypocrisy. I thought it was pronounced hypocrite. It should be hypocrisy.
Stitch this with a word that you read
I can agree.
Yeah.
before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
I've Other Aussies, where you at? Surely I'm not the only one here. Arkansas, right? Like where's the W? This is not Arkansas. Y'all have Kansas. Kansas is spelt the same. Are you telling me it's Kansas now? Have I been saying that wrong the whole time? Unsure. And then this one. It's obviously, you're telling me that's not Yosemite? Vegemite, Yosemite. It's not Yosemite. Come on.
Oh, it's Yosemite.
Yes. Yes, it's Yosemite.
Fuck. I was saying that shit confidently like, yeah. It's Yosemite. It's not meat, it's mites. Yosemite.
Guys, this is, nah.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you
Damn. My teacher was wrong when they said like this. We was in history talking about it. It was like it used to be called he was like, it used to be 4 states in the Arkansas Plains. It's like Arkansas Plains. Heart of Arkansas. Heart of Arkansas. Must be right. She a teacher. I was already in social. I ain't gonna say shit. Well, like hit me with detention.
Pronounced it free.
I was ranting to my brother last night, and I said, it's just a common courtesy, and he started cracking up. And he said, do you mean courtesy? And I said, yes, I absolutely do mean courtesy. And I realized that I always read it as courtesy because I thought court, like King Arthur's court, and like fancy knights and stuff. So you have to be courteous, so it's courtesy. So that's how I say it. I think that makes more sense.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
I don't know how many of you will remember the Happy Bunny merchandise, keychains, shirts, posters, the whole shebang. So cute but psycho. As a young child, I was convinced that word was pussy chow. Pussy chow. Like, what the fuck? And still to this day, I will mispronounce words that I read, but that's just because I'm dyslexic and I don't know how to read certain things and it's backwards, but that's another story.
Stitch this with a word.
Psycho.
Yeah, I get the second part of that shit. I'm the same way with numbers. I get them bitches backwards like a motherfucker.
Word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it for a really long time. I'll start. Melancholy. Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud.
Please tell me you know how to pronounce that word.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce it?
How about me?
How you pronounce it?
I was going to say malarkey.
What the?
Wait,
what?
Go back to the word. What was the word? Sorry, y'all, because I'm slow today. Apparently my whole education system failed the hell out of me.
This with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it for a really long time. I'll start.
Day after day.
Melancholy.
Oh shit. I had melanopsia. I never see that word again in my life.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
Amalgam.
What? I had no
Stitch
idea
this
what
with
that
a
word
word
meant.
that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it for
cake. Like bits and nibbles and cookies. You need to clear your cake and your cookies.
All right.
Oh.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it.
Because you clear your cookies, right?
Yeah.
We know that word is catch. But if you're just thinking like on the scale of, oh, it's probably like another dessert because that was called cookie, so this has to be cake. It's like, get where she's coming from.
C-A-C-H-E. That's not, for one, that's not how you spell cake. It's just some new way to fucking spell cake now. But
apparently it is.
Yeah.
Said out loud and you mispronounced.
I called the customer Jean Pierre, and his name is Jean Pierre.
Yeah.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
I still feel so stupid because of this, but it was Sagittarius, you know, like the Zodiac.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
Awry.
A what?
Awry.
Ari?
I pronounced it Ari.
I knew she was getting ready to say that.
Ari. Awry. I was a grown adult when my younger sister corrected me.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
Erythriel. I just never looked at it closely enough while I was reading it, and so I invented a whole new Lord of the Rings elf in front of my entire 8th grade class.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it for a...
You know the jewelry store? Fine jewelry? David Gift.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud.
Oh.
So when I was, 10 or so, my family and I were traveling through Missouri and stopped at McDonald's in the middle of nowhere, and they had this map of Missouri on the wall. And so I was looking at it, kind of tracing our route, and I was like, oh, hey, Dad, look, are we going through this place? It's called Cappy Gerdu. And Dad looked at me and said, what? And I said, Cappy Gerdu, it's right here on the map. Yeah, it's pronounced Cape Girardeau, but what did I know? I was like 10.
Stitch this with a word that
anybody would have trouble pronouncing that.
Right.
You read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
I used to pronounce these two words in my head as meinst and abhorrent.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
I took a lot of ribbing for this. My word is Chesapeake. Chesapeake.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
I'm deeply ashamed of this. I have wanted to be an archaeologist for most of my life, and when I was a kid and into like high school and early college, I wanted to go into classics archaeology. So this is super embarrassing. But I used to say phosphorone because I only ever read it and I never heard anyone say her name. I'm so sorry. It sounds like Post Malone, but he didn't exist then, or he wasn't famous then. I'm sorry. I said Persephone, Postphone. I'm an idiot.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you...
Okay.
ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
Yeah, I got one of these. Centrifugal, which I was pronouncing centrifugal in front of the professional engineers that I work with. Now, I am obviously not an engineer, or I would not have been pronouncing it that way, and they were very kind and polite in correcting me. But one of them did audibly gasp when I said it that way, so, it's humbling to work with smart people.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced.
What's that supposed to mean?
Sometimes I be feeling like, damn, I'm dumb as shit. And I know I'm not that dumb.
Pronounced it.
Not me, a guy named Nigel I was at high school with. We were doing a play and he was the narrator and we were in a rehearsal and the entire cast was there and he got to the line, Belladonna, overcome with fear and fatigue. And I've never got over it. I still say fatigue.
Stitch this with a word that you read before you ever heard it said out loud and you mispronounced it.
I'll do you two better. First, thanks to a public school education in Southeast Texas, I was taught pretty much my entire life that you measure the circumference of a circle. I did not learn the correct term for that until probably my late teens. Fast forward a couple years, I'm in college about to graduate, and I'm at a gas station buying cheap wine with my roommate. And I don't know how I never learned this, but I call her over and go, Erica, let's get this Yosemite wine. And she looked at me and said, do you mean Yosemite?
me an item you bought that you were greatly disappointed in due to poor product description or false advertising.
I bought a banana duck. I got it off of Facebook Marketplace. And these were the pictures that they use for the ad. As you can tell, they are obviously outdoors and pretty large compared to the poles and the sidewalk and everything. So I was like, hey, I like weird things. I'll buy a banana duck sculpture. I don't know. I waited a month for it to arrive and it got here. But it's definitely not the size it shows in the pictures.
Okay. You still bought it though. Did you enjoy this one or not?
Weirdest thing that anybody has ever just said directly to your face.
So one time when I was serving at a restaurant, I walked up to the table to introduce myself and said, hi, my name's Ulysses. I'll be your server. And then the lady at the table said, oh my God, Ulysses, I love that name. Are you Greek? And then I said, no, I'm not Greek. I'm actually Nicaraguan, which then she responded with, oh my God, Nicaraguan? But you're so attractive though. And then I must have made a face like this. Because then she said, oh my God, don't get offended. It's a compliment. I've been to Nicaragua and you look nothing like them.
Well,
we know who he was talking about.
Right. But yeah, it's a lot of words in there. There's 2 words I always mispronounce. Growing a lot of them, especially being here in the city. Lasher.
It's a losser.
Yeah, because
we gonna call it lasher.
It's gonna be lasher because they used to be sounds. I used to mispronounce Joseph Campbell. Camp. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Still mispronounce it.
Joseph Campbell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Campus Martius. So I feel like I'm mispronouncing it.
You're saying it right.
Yeah, but I still feel because I feel like there should be some little flair to the word.
Okay.
And your name.
Everybody says my name incorrectly.
So I never when I was the first go around and the second time, I never really. That's why you have a nickname.
Obviously.
And even then people like, oh, what's your name?
That girl.
Right. And even my phone had to pronounce your name to my phone because it wouldn't say your name correctly. It said Rihanna.
Obviously.
So that's why I was like, her name Rihanna. But yeah, let's get up out of here though.
Well, y'all, of course, if you enjoyed that reaction, go ahead and hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe because, of course, we're going to come back with more of these. And, of course, if you want to see this video for yourself or check out TikTok News YouTube channel for yourself, the descriptions will be in the description box below, along with where you can follow me and Official JW on our perplexing profiles. You got anything else you want to add?
No, because you mispronounced some shit in there.
I did, but who cares? Y'all know what to do.
Right, y'all know it's by now, colliders. On that note, we about to get up out of here. Catch y'all next time.
Bye, y'all.